You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio here on iTunes and CFRE. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And I'm very excited for another week of news that we will be discussing here on today's episode. And before we begin, I'd like to introduce my panel. Joining us for the second time, my first repeat guest here on New Theory Radio, my good friend from the Bramptonist, Radha Tailor. Radha, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you, darling?
Good. It's thanks for coming on and being a backup guest. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
You and Ryan Gertran will be my backup guests from now on.
But don't forget, that time I was the primary.
Yeah, you were the primary. Yeah. Ryan was the backup.
And you know what? It was episode 1. You always have to bring the best back. And that is me. Sorry.
You got to have a recurring cast. And unfortunately, Ryan isn't here. But, you know, it's okay. He's busy being a soon-to-be father.
I know. I'm so excited.
It's crazy. When's his wife due?
It's supposed to be in around 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. It's soon. Oh, my God.
It's very exciting.
That's crazy. And I would like to welcome our third panelist. He is known in GTA and the Peel region as Mr. Innovation, and he's also one of the co-founders of a brand new air filter product that is currently on Indiegogo.
Yes, CleanAir.ai.
Yes.
And ALVi is the name of the filter.
ALVi is the name of the filter, and this is my boy, Devin Ramphal, my fellow McMaster Marauder.
Thank you for having me, Nev.
Yeah, Devin was telling me off air that I didn't go to enough soca parties at McMaster, which is why I didn't know him before.
You went to Club 77, that's enough.
Look, you got one boy that doesn't go to enough soca, you got one boy who does not know how to soca. It's all good in the hood.
Yo, I went to one soca party, I think I told you, it was called Black and White. It was hosted by the West Indian Student Union, and man, was that crazy. And I used to hold South Asian parties, but this was crazier than that. It was an experience I'll never forget, and 77 will always hold a special place in my heart.
AKA someone went bacchanal.
Yes. I saw a lot of flags. I saw a lot of gymnastic moves.
Oh, of course.
And I smelt a lot of rum.
Oh, okay, that's standard.
That was a lot of rum, yeah.
That's how we do in the Caribbean.
I love the Caribbean.
See, but you know what? I could totally relate to that because when I went to university, I did have a flag, and I've had it since my second year university. But I used to
Was it an India flag?
No.
What?
I've never owned an India flag before. The only flag I've ever owned is a Trini flag.
There we go.
But wait, so you're part Trini?
No.
You just had a Trini flag.
So when I was at Queens, I used to choreograph Bhangra. I used to choreograph dancehall. I used to choreograph
You played
soca.
dole too.
Pardon?
You used to play dole.
I used to play dole.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, one Radha Tailor's Gujarati.
Yeah, I'm good. Yo, man, you get, when Navratri season comes out, you bring out the danyas, you go for your ras, like, you've got to do it up. But yeah, no, because I used to do choreography for East Indian and West Indian,
really?
And I was also really, really big, I mean, not as big, but I was doing quite a bit of hip-hop, and some of the dancers I used to do hip-hop with are actually now major performers when it comes down to, like, the MMVAs and things like that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So Queen's University used to get down like that.
Yeah, there's some things that will never, ever be exposed in public and stories you will never hear about me.
See, when I think about Queen's University and the crew that you hung out with, I just picture like all 20 of the South Asian or
it was more like 100. It's like 100.
Or Caribbean or Jamaicans just hanging out.
You know what? It was actually a lot of fun. My house in one of my years used to be the closest to the campus when it came down to, I guess, distances from anyone in the... number one, the South Asian as well as the West Indian community. Mm-hmm. So there'd be so many times I walk into my house, I'd be a lot of our friends, the West Indian friends, and I'm like, how did you get into the house? And they'd be like, oh, so-and-so let me in, but then they left for class, and so-and-so came in, and they cooked, and they left. So I've just been sitting here watching TV. And I'm like, why are you on my couch watching TV, using my pots,
Oh my
and
God.
none of my housemates are over? And like it was like a regular weekly occurrence. Like that's just how we did it at university.
That actually, Devin might know. You don't remember? Actually, where'd you live in university?
Ooh, down Emerson, there was a street called Ward.
Okay, Ward.
So I
Yeah.
spent
Yeah.
4 years on Ward.
Yeah.
And then the last year was, I can't remember. It was right by the Esso gas station.
There was a couple friends of mine that had a big house on Ward. I remember that, but I only lived off campus for 1 year because I was a CA for 2 years.
Oh, sweet.
And first year I lived in Hedden Hall. Second year I lived off campus, which I'll come back to. Third year I was a CA for Brandon Hall, and then my last year I was a CA for Wooden Hall.
Nice.
And then when I went back to Mac to do my MBA, I was living in the West Village condos, which was like epic because there's Santa Grill underneath it, which was my shawarma spot. So good. But when I lived on Norfolk, our house was right behind Thode Library, and because we had a parking lot, people would park for free in our parking lot and go to class, like our friends that would drive or commute. But this was so bad, and in hindsight, it was such a bad idea. Our side door was always open.
Ooh.
So sometimes I would come downstairs, and we had an Xbox in our living room, and there'd be like random people playing Xbox
Oh my gosh.
in like early morning. And I was
What?
like, people like that my friends knew, but still, like, it was a revolving door of people that would show up. And yeah, that's why I moved back to Res.
Or you could have just locked the door.
Yeah, but we became known as the party house. We had some pretty epic parties
yeah.
there. I felt bad for the landlord because he would come visit us, and the house would never be in the best shape. But I remember my dad visiting and him leaving and then telling me that I need to go back to residence. So.
My sister's house was the party house.
Really,
My
eh?
last year, it was exactly that revolving door.
Really?
We'd sleep there all the time.
Older or younger?
Younger.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and...
Wait, were you at like the university trying to chop younger girls or something like that?
No, I was in a relationship at that time. But
Yeah,
that
not
was,
Goody
that was the
two
party
shoes over here.
house.
Dang.
That's hilarious, man. But anyways, let's
Yeah.
move on to our topic. So I feel like we can talk about university life for the remainder of this episode. But
I feel like we talk about anything.
I think we talk about anything. I'm really happy with the panel that we have. I know Radha can talk for days, which is great. So I'm gonna have to cut her off a couple times. But first and foremost, let's talk about some things that made news. And because Devin is Mr. Innovation, I thought we'd start with a bit of a tech conversation. So Apple says it's banning a Facebook research app that collects users' personal information. Apparently, this Facebook app that was collecting mobile information of different people who would download it using the Apple Store was violating the Apple privacy settings that they had. One thing I would say about this is I think it follows the long sort of line of Facebook breaches that have been taking place since sort of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, even this past fall when there was a big data breach that had taken place with like millions of Facebook user data being exposed. And now this. And I remember reading about this article and thinking to myself, number one, I'm very happy that Apple decided to take a stand. But number two, really feeling uneasy about Facebook more so than I did before, because now I feel they're playing Russian roulette when it comes to our data. And it made me think about the amount of information that I have on Facebook and whether I should quite possibly remove it or even discontinue my Facebook profile in general, and maybe even delete it off my phone, considering a lot, what this breach consisted of. So I want to get your thoughts. Maybe Devin will begin with you. Obviously, we now live in this smart world where we're always connected, whether it be via smartphones, whether it be, the Internet of Things, whether it be, air clean filters that you're offering, such as ALVi. I thought it'd be a great segue to ask your opinion on this, and what are your thoughts on this little beef between Facebook and Apple?
Yeah, so first, the amount of memes that I've seen with Mark Zuckerberg and data breaches is unbelievable. It's like an unending stream of memes. And you're right, Facebook has demonstrated that they're not responsible when it comes to holding our data. Mm-hmm. This case in particular is a little bit different because the way this works is it was a controlled development app that Facebook was allowed to leverage, but it was only meant for the Facebook employees. Mm-hmm. It wasn't meant to be released to the public. And what Facebook started doing was they were paying people about $20 a month, and people as young as 13 years old, teenagers, of course with parental consent, but paying them $20 a month to leverage their data. and essentially Facebook could look at everything they were doing on their phone, from the apps they were using, how long they were spending on each app. So it was, and you can extract a lot of information from someone just based on their phone usage. Mm-hmm. So they defended what they did by just saying that they named the app the Facebook Research app.
Yes.
Right. So that's I don't know. Like, if people are signing up for it, okay, fine. And if they're getting paid for it, okay, fine. But the problem here is that Apple did not allow this, and
yes.
they didn't allow it for a certain reason. So definitely admirable on Apple's stance for saying, hey, listen, like, you can't be doing this, and cutting ties with Facebook on that front.
It's fascinating because I know for a fact that everybody right now on their phones probably has the Facebook app, definitely probably has Instagram, and also has WhatsApp. Which are all owned by the Zuck, by Mark Zuckerberg and company. And I remember reading about this, and sure, Apple decided to take a stand and told Facebook, hey, you can't do this, regardless of, whether it's for employees, you cannot put this out based on our privacy settings. And a lot of people are wondering, because of the amount of, I guess, share that Facebook owns in people's cell phones, mainly their iPhones, how drastic of an actual consequence will Apple put on Facebook, considering that they do own, some of the most popular apps that are out there. But man, I think about Facebook, and I think about just the recurring amounts of issues that are coming out when it comes to just data in general. And Radha, this is something that you are definitely love to nerd about when it comes to data analytics. What are your thoughts on this?
So oh my God, there's so much about this. Okay, so number one, when we think about the usage of Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and also Facebook Messenger, we have to, number one, think about the number of generations that are using this. And also when you're thinking about devices overseas as well, not a lot of people are using laptops. Like, it's these mobile devices that are primary, and
totally.
They're relying on this. Number two, think about the number of businesses that are integrating themselves into now Facebook Messenger and into WhatsApp as their primary forms of communication when it comes down to personalized marketing.
Also, I think, didn't Facebook release a work product, like a product like for the workplace recently too? I feel like I saw that. Let me Google it while you finish your thought.
But so that's number two. So now it's not only reaching into our personal realm, it's also reaching into our work realms as well. And no matter where you are, if it's on your phone, there's going to be a token on your phone that's going to be able to track your activity. The problem that we have is that when major companies are playing with your data, they're also personalizing the exposure that you have to information. Mm-hmm. They are influencing your thoughts and your decisions. And Devin and I were talking about this beforehand. It's the fact that you want to be able to make a decision, a informed decision. You want to know why either an app using AI or why a person who is on the side in an advisory, it doesn't matter who it is, you want to know why a decision is being made the way that it is and why you're getting the recommendations that you are. But when your entire realm is being customized for like-minded people that are around you, or some sort of algorithm that is testing out what your interests are, or that your health data is compromised, or maybe your social security data is compromised, your locations are compromised, everything about you can easily be sold. And right now, data is the most precious material that anyone can get their hands on, because they can literally steal your identities. They can make you, they can break you, and they can shape your thoughts so quickly that literally, if they wanted to, they could have a revolution of thought just based upon personalizing the information that's coming your way.
It's very interesting that you talk about data, because there is an article that I found in the Financial Post called "Why We Need Data Rights. Not Everything About Us Should Be for Sale." It's an article written by Bianca Wiley, and I found it very interesting because it talks about the trade-off that we make when it comes to smart services, convenience, and the amount of information that we give off because of convenience. So, we talk about Alexa for Amazon, we talk about Siri for Apple, we talk about Google Assist, things that we use at our leisure. Like, I think about now, for example, when I was coming over here to the studio, I was asking Siri to direct me to the fastest way to get to campus.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, I'm literally telling Siri where I'm going and where I'm coming from. And then I also get interested in Google as well, because there's so many times that, Google will just memorize where my home address is now based on the amount of frequency that I've typed it into Google Maps. So I'm giving away all this information from a convenience standpoint. And it's interesting because I find that a lot of people get weirded out by that. Mm-hmm. I think because I have a marketing background and I realize the power of data, and I know, Radha, you also have a marketing background, so you also realize it, and Devin, you're in innovation, so data is everything, especially when it comes to putting out new products. I think all three of us share a common appreciation for data and wanting to collect it. But then I think about people that are a bit more private, that are somewhat get a little paranoid that almost people are listening to them too much, and how scary this could actually be. So what I want to ask you guys is what is your thoughts on data rights, and should we have any? Because I'm under the belief that if my life's, and this may sound foolish, but it's my opinion, that if I get convenience out of it, part of me doesn't really care.
But I think it's also because you haven't been in a severe breach where where data has come
and that's true too. Yeah, I think I've had only 2 breaches in my life, knock on wood, which have mainly involved, like, I had someone scam my Instagram account, so I just went in and changed my password. Like, I had no idea how that happened, but that was fine.
I am now Nav Nanwa.
Yeah, it was weird. It was one of those spam accounts that was selling Ray-Ban glasses.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
I remember my wife Anu texted me. She's like, "Hey, your account got spammed," because I just got tagged, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I remember seeing like 3 posts. So right away, I just like went in and changed it.
This actually happened to my dad recently.
Oh yeah, it did actually.
So somebody, not so much on a digital front, but they broke into his locker at the gym.
Oh man.
And stole his wallet, took his ID, his credit cards, everything. And now we get constant calls from the bank or whatever saying, "Hey, this person's trying to access this."
Yeah.
Right, and they actually made it pretty far into the system.
Really?
Yeah, they made it into Rogers, like somehow with Rogers' phone system, and they're able to like sign him up for another phone plan.
That is crazy,
right? And yeah, it's nuts what they can do with your information.
Yeah, my credit card, I have a Visa card, and it used to get locked out whenever I would go to the US, and then I'd have to like call them and be like, "Hey, no, I'm traveling." But then I felt pretty secured about that. I was like, "Hey, at least they're tracking my activity and make sure it's not suspicious." But again, I haven't had a massive breach that's made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Again, when that Facebook one happened during the fall, when I think 25 million or so people had their information breached, I felt like I wasn't one of them. But
I think there's also a demographic split, right? So the people that are generally older, like as millennials, we generally don't care as much about data, right? But when you get into the older generations, they're not used to this.
They're not. No,
right?
that's
So
a good point.
there's a different perspective there. They're much more guarded. We were at an angel investment pitch yesterday, and we're talking about wireless cameras in the elevators.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, I'm used to being on camera at all times anyway. It's like I'm just assuming now that there's a camera watching me.
Oh, yeah.
But for it was interesting to hear some of the other people in the room speak about how, no, this is a breach of privacy.
Yeah.
See, I actually go along the lines of the breach of privacy. And I think that's one thing in Canada that we are a little bit more fortunate about than the U.S. is that we have better security when it comes down to our healthcare data. Mm-hmm. We also have better security when it comes to our credit card data and our spending habits. Mm-hmm. In the U.S., they certainly don't, as we have been proven multiple times. But it really, I don't know, I don't like having this much exposure. Like, I'm one of those people that often if I go out, I'm turning off my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi, not my Wi-Li. Wi-Li, yo. No, but like I am doing that. I find that I'm clearing out all of my searches, like from Google, even Instagram and Reddit and whatever it is. I clear out a lot of my histories every 3 months. I just did every year I clean out all of my search trends from Facebook. And I mean, we were just discussing this. Yeah. I'm apparently looking at motherhood as an unmarried woman. So it's a different segment of, and also classical literature, which is not my forte. Wow. But you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting to see, number one, when you do wipe as much information as you possibly can about yourself, how algorithms are picking up information about you, either through your conversations or whether it's, once again, as marketers, we know about remarketing, we know about retargeting.
Totally.
And it's important because it personalizes a journey. So you have two situations that on one hand, we can say, okay, let's say hypothetically, we're looking at data governance. Great. It's not going to be manipulated by major conglomerates. Great. Even better, because that means we're controlling who has access to our work. That's fine. But then, and I mean, that's ideally what we want. But now we have to look at, okay, well, the data that can be accessed, the search trends that can be accessed, are companies able to rebuild those profiles about us once we start giving our information away again? You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about the personalized journeys. And a lot of what I do right now is dealing with personalization, dynamic content. I need that information.
Yeah, no, totally.
In order to sell a product. But therefore, once again, we're talking about the influence of the marketing materials and collateral and messaging, and is it like-minded thoughts that you're going to be gravitating towards again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that in itself is actually quite important when it comes to data governance.
That's an interesting perspective. So I'm on the flip side.
Yeah.
I kind of like the targeted ads and the convenience to a degree, right? Like I like the convenience of it, and I like being shown things that are relevant. I don't like if I'm on Facebook or if I'm just browsing the nets, like I don't want to see things that are completely irrelevant to me. But at the same time, if I'm making a purchase, and if I'm clicking on that button that says buy now, I want to know why you recommended this thing to me, right? What was it in my history that made you say this is what you should buy?
So I bought the winter jacket that I have. I bought it because of Target ad, because I was looking for a winter jacket. Everyone told me to go buy a Canada Goose. I was a bit skeptical because everyone has one, and I was really doing research into what jackets are worth it, what's warm, because I've never had a warm jacket. Like I think all my winter jacket purchases have been more based on style versus function, and I've always suffered, especially on days like today. But I found my jacket by simply, again, being fed ads by, at this point it was J. Crew, and I was like, oh, that looks like a nice jacket. And then just so happens that when I clicked it, it was on sale, and I made the purchase.
How did it know? How did it know what jacket you?
You know what? I think it was because number one, I was doing a lot of research on winter jackets. Plus, I was looking probably at like-minded retailers like J. Crew. Like I was looking at Zara, I was looking at like on the Bay, I was looking at brands like Nobis, all these different types of quality jackets. And I remember what was interesting is that when I found my jacket online, I was reading the reviews, and a lot of the reviews were comparing this jacket to other ones that I was looking at. So someone's like, oh, I have a Canada Goose jacket, and this one's very comparable from a warm standpoint, or I bought this one and I returned it because this jacket was better. So I think it was like a mix of everything. It was capturing all these different words that I was looking at. And ultimately, I was able to make this purchase in the course of like a couple days.
Retargeting.
So that's my beef with this whole thing, though, is that you're like, at the end, did you make that decision, or did they make that decision?
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm scared. Right. I'm being manipulated.
No, and that's it. It's a manipulation of thought.
It is.
But so going back to Facebook and Apple. So let's say hypothetically, Apple were to say, not only are you, Facebook, not allowed to have this particular project, the Facebook Research app, through our enterprise, I'm going to call it, or development area.
Yeah.
What would happen if Apple stopped allowing any Facebook product to exist?
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't think that would fly, to be honest. I think Apple would lose some. Instagram is a go-to. WhatsApp is a go-to. Like,
I think there would be a loss of market share, but I also wonder how much.
That would be fast.
How would it affect? How much would people buy into it? What would be the data protection? Would now data be more insecure if they're going to be going to Androids? And I mean, Android has an open source space. Like, what would be the implication? I'm
telling you, if Apple was to make a stand like that, I'd be so happy if I was BlackBerry with BBM. It's like, oh, you guys came crawling back, because everybody uses WhatsApp.
Go Canada.
And I'd probably also be happy if I was Snapchat too. I've actually, I think I'm on the verge of deleting my Snapchat because I don't use it anymore.
I literally have Snapchat just because I can use my Bitmoji for partner Bitmojis.
Oh yeah,
and I connect it there.
Because the Bitmoji actually animates and stuff, right?
I don't know if it animates. Oh yeah, it does.
I haven't. So during WrestleMania season last year, I made a small comeback to Snapchat, because they had an animated John Cena bit emoji that you could fight.
God, that's so you.
And I literally, I'll show you the video. I have it on my phone. Look. So that's my bit emoji going up against John Cena.
Oh, that is funny.
and that's my apartment.
Yo, that is amazing marketing for John.
It was awesome.
That's hilarious.
It was awesome. And I literally made a small comeback to Snapchat.
Wait, when was that?
That was last April. So chances are...
Is that the one that I saw when I went to the Cineplex?
Yeah, you went to the movie theater for that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that snapped. Oh, man.
And I still feel like when it comes to those types of filters, Snapchat probably still owns Instagram when it comes to integrating a lot more of the VR.
But then Snapchat also in itself, it's its own story.
Yeah. But hey, to your point, if I'm a BBM or Snapchat, I'm probably hoping that Apple takes major, even though they probably won't, but takes major action against Facebook. But that'd be interesting, especially Instagram. I feel like right now Instagram is the number one social medium that people are using. Like I know Twitter's seen a big decrease, and Facebook obviously has its issues. I've actually seen a lot more people just flat out discontinue their Facebook and not even use it. And I find that Instagram is like the obsession for everyone right now.
Actually, funny enough, I had to leave Facebook, and then because of work purposes, I had to join it again.
Oh, okay.
Sucks.
Going back to Snapchat for a sec, whatever happened to the Snapchat glasses?
I actually have a pair.
Do you?
I have a pair, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's. I have another video I could show you, but I won't. It was a cool concept. I was using them briefly. They connected via Bluetooth to your phone.
Yeah.
But they just never like even like Google Glass, like it never picked up. I think
because of privacy issues.
Yeah,
I think we're just not. It'll get there. We're just not ready for it yet.
Really, eh?
But now, like just like how Alexa and Siri are listening, now imagine something constantly watching.
Yeah,
that's so crazy.
And that's where you're going to get surveillance state. I was hearing rumors. I don't know if it's true or not about China being a surveillance state and the fact that you get rated or you get ranked on your social earnings.
Yeah, there's actually funny you mentioned that. Someone told me a story quite recently about a reporter who I believe was from China or not from China, but they historically have written very negative articles about like the politicians and the actual country itself. And they couldn't book a flight because of their negative social value.
Yeah.
This reminds me of an episode from
Black Mirror. Yeah, it does. But I feel like life's just going to become Black Mirror. I think we're all going to be rated like that. And it's interesting you talk about Snapchat goggles. Because ultimately, we talk about how things like Siri and Google Assistant are listening to what we're saying. Like all like everything that we look at through Snapchat goggles gets recorded up in a cloud somewhere anyway. So that's oh man, that's so crazy.
So coming back to that topic, you literally just said about you being ranked. Imagine how much data can get exposed. So imagine, think about it. Like if this were to continue in the next 2 to 3 years. That means people could start being ranked on their social presence. They could be ranked on, like, it'd be a public source for job performance.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And then, health, then insurance companies come into play, things like this. And then you start to wonder, well, if that's the case, who's actually building these algorithms? Would there be a bias in the algorithm? So, and then how does the favoritism go? And if you have favoritism in certain directions, then who's allocating money and funds? And therefore, if that's the case, what happens to the marginalized populations? I don't mean marginalized populations just on race and religion. I also mean marginalized populations when it comes down to learning disabilities, or when it comes down to opportunities that are available, or anything else
like job classes, all that.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting way to think about surveillance of a person, just because companies have your data.
Yeah.
Did I scare you? Just a little?
A little bit.
LinkedIn kind of does this with the recommendations. Like it's a very preliminary version of it.
Yeah.
Right? But it might get there at some point. But is there a positive in all of this? Do you see a positive anywhere?
Not until we have data governance. I think right now it's a big old rodeo. People luckily do not yet know how to process big data. But with the advancement of technology, with the advancement of people learning how to deal with big data, then you need governance as fast as you possibly can. And it's good that Apple made a stand like this, because it's showing that, no, we do care about regulation. But we also need the everyday person to understand why data governance is a right, not just a privilege, and why they need to be advocating for it.
I think a really good companion piece to what we're talking about is probably that episode of Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj when he talks about Amazon, because
I don't think I've seen it yet.
Amazon Amazon has AWS, which we all know what that is, and obviously, what makes Amazon such a powerhouse is their data.
Yeah,
they can dictate what you're going to purchase before you even purchase it because they just know.
They'll adjust the penny.
They will
just to prompt you to buy something.
They're so sophisticated. It's unbelievable, and yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see, especially now that we are going to see smart cities involved, and obviously there's a big discussion around that in the city of Toronto. But as we sort of look at this smart world that we'll be walking into over the next few years, governance is a huge one. I think being able to tap into that and figure out what that could look like is going to be huge. But I also feel like our government's in a good enough position to figure out what that governance should look like.
They're a little bit slow.
They're
a little bit slow
because I think there's a huge lack of understanding.
Yeah, it's all new stuff.
Yeah,
right, and it's hitting everyone. It's all changing so fast. By the time they figure it out, something else has changed.
Well, you're Mr. Innovation.
Mr. Innovation, tell us when is the government going to figure this out?
That's on the federal level. I'm on the municipal.
Well, anyways, maybe we should move on because I think this is like a bit of a black hole topic, but
it's a cool topic though.
It's definitely a cool topic.
We can talk about this for days.
Yeah, I think I can do a segment on this every week. I feel like everybody has a theory on how we're just giving away our life information to the entire world.
Did we learn anything from this topic so far? Any takeaways?
I think I'm starting to be scared. I don't know.
Yeah, I think just be aware. Like when you see an ad pop up, there may be a reason.
Just permanently live on airplane mode. Speaking of ads, this weekend is
Super Bowl.
It's a big occasion for some.
Do you own a football jersey, an NFL jersey?
I don't. I should though, because my wife is a big New Orleans Saints fan. I'm actually surprised she's even going to watch the Super Bowl, considering what happened to her Saints a few weeks ago. But I don't own a football jersey. I should though.
Man.
Yeah, even when I worked at the CFL, I never bought a football jersey.
Yeah, that's the one reason why I'm asking. I'm like, dude, you are the person who's like American football or Canadian football.
It's funny. I'm not a football fan at all.
Yeah.
I just fell into that role. I'm more of I do have a Raptors jersey. I'm a big Raptors fan.
Yeah.
I also have a Vancouver Grizzlies jersey too. Yeah.
See, with me, like I have my JJ Watts Houston Texans.
Okay, that's
I wore
cool.
that every Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I know for the fact that the Texans will never ever win the Super Bowl. They never make it to the Super Bowl.
It's like me. I do like the New Orleans Saints jersey because of the black and gold, but I also really love the Raiders jersey too. Maybe because of NWA and
that's
Ice
very
Cube and Dr. Dre. I always thought it was gangster.
Anyways, before I interrupted you, you were saying.
So for some, it's a big sports occasion. For others, it's a big excuse just to eat greasy food, which will probably be me.
Yes,
that's me.
Chicken wings.
Yeah, even though I've been really strict on my intermittent fasting, I think I'm going to definitely break it on Sunday because I think it just happens. But the Super Bowl is taking place. We have again the New England Patriots who will be vying for the Super Bowl for what feels like the 100th time versus the Los Angeles Rams. We have Maroon 5 playing the halftime show, which has been through tons of scrutiny over the last year. The game's taking place in Atlanta in a brand new stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Apparently it's supposed to be cold in Atlanta this weekend.
Yes. So on the day of the Super Bowl, it's supposed to be raining with a high of like 9 degrees.
Ooh, that sucks. Usually, whatever happened to hot Atlanta? I thought Atlanta was... I went to Atlanta in May. It was beautiful.
Look, man, we don't know what happened to Usher. He got a new hairstyle.
I wonder if Usher and his new hairstyle will show up. Probably.
Kind of want to see it. This relaxed fit, yo.
You know what? It'd be sweet. And this is totally not the topic we're talking about. But if they did a Atlanta like hip hop tribute with like Jermaine Dupri, Usher,
yo, that'd be sick.
And I don't get it. Like, sure, they have Big Boy performing. They have Travis Scott performing with Maroon 5, who's not even from. He's from Houston. But you have such a strong music lineage in Atlanta. I'm quite surprised that they didn't just go the Atlanta because you got Ludacris, a bunch of people.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, I know that Ludacris is a little bit off-brand to the viewership, but can you imagine Luda doing a halftime show?
Oh man, I love Ludacris. I think Ludacris.
I love Luda. Why doesn't Luda ever come down to the Toronto Inner Tube concert?
I don't know. I feel like he played Hershey Center once.
What?
Yeah. And I think he also played Powerade Center once too.
Really?
Yeah.
What? When was this?
I'm pretty sure I heard that he had played Powerade Center. I'm gonna say it was towards the tail end of his popularity.
He's not popular anymore?
I still like Luda, but he's not as big as he once was.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, my God.
I think 2000s was his peak, right? Early 2000s.
It definitely
that's
was.
True. I still listen to Luda on the regular.
Oh, Luda's awesome. Like,
but I think the same thing happened with Nelly. Like, Nelly came here. The tickets were $50, and I couldn't find a single person to go with me.
Really? I saw Nelly at OVO Fest 2 years ago, 2007. It was 2017 he came out.
I went to the first OVO Fest, and therefore I can't ever go back.
Yeah, that was the best one. That's the one I didn't go to. That's the one that I remember not caring about. I was like, oh, I don't want to go see Drake. Drake's whatever. And then he brings out J&M, and I haven't seen Eminem live yet, so I'm still kicking myself.
Anyways,
back to Super Bowl. Going a bit tired. I guess it tells you how bad we want to talk about it. The one thing that always comes around this year that I think a lot of people get very interested in when it comes to the Super Bowl are the ads.
Yes.
As marketers in the room, as well as product owners, the ads, for the Super Bowl are typically a good opportunity to get your product, your service in front of a massive viewership. It seems like this year we will, as much as the CRTC and Bell was trying to fight it last year, I think we are going to see the U.S. ads on the broadcast, which is
thank
a huge
God,
plus.
because honestly, watching those Canadian ads just meant I had to take extra time. I had to go into Ad Age and Adweek. Don't wrong, I love organizations, but I'm like, come on, you're making me take an extra 2 to 3 hours so I can watch ads. I want to rank and rate, and I'm going to forget about it.
Well, I love talking about it on Twitter, too, because everyone's talking about it. And it's the one thing that I look forward to. And the last 2 years, I very much enjoyed watching the Super Bowl only for that reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the one thing we also have to remember is that when you look at the Super Bowl ads, I mean, granted, you have Super Bowl, and the last half always gets interesting. But, I mean, you always look at these things because they are a community event. Like, there's some broadcasts, you tape it, you're good to go. But there's some events has to be watched live because that's what you get when you get the feeling of community. You have the feeling of everyone coming together and you are having a shared experience at the same time. So I'm going to sound like a dweeb here, but thank God that got Trump because I really want to see the American ads.
The thing that boggled my mind is why, if there's such a big hype around Super Bowl ads in the U.S., I'm really surprised. And maybe it's because there isn't a Canadian presence of the NFL here in Canada. Yeah. But I'm somewhat surprised that Canadian brands or Canadian divisions of companies don't treat this the same way as they do in the U.S. Absolutely. Because viewership for the Super Bowl is pretty high. I remember when I used to work at the CFL, we used to compare Grey Cup viewership to the Super Bowl, and it wasn't...
Why?
Well, actually last year, because... funny enough, and it's funny because the NFL is in a bit of an upswing this season, but last season they were getting trashed.
Yeah,
they were like, even now, I think the Super Bowl ad inventory isn't sold out. I think CBS is still trying to sell it.
Yeah.
But last year, I think the Grey Cup did 6 million.
Oh, snap! Really?
No, the Grey Cup did 10 million viewers altogether, but it peaked at 6 million during Shania's halftime show. The Super Bowl on CTV did around 11. Like, it wasn't a huge difference. It wasn't a huge difference. So that was data that I would use to sponsors. But this year might change, obviously, and really it's dependent on this on the scenario. Like, I know for a fact Grey Cup viewership this year was down, which sucks because Alessia Cara was repping Brampton for the halftime show. But I think a lot of it also has to be attributed to the teams that were playing. Yeah. This year, I don't know if the Super Bowl is going to be up because I know a lot of NFL fans that are tired of Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, and plus I know a lot of people that aren't fans of Maroon 5. Yeah. But ultimately, the crazy thing here from putting a marketing cap on, this is slowly becoming a very marketing-heavy podcast, is the fact that ad inventory still exists as of this recording, which is Thursday evening, before the Super Bowl, as well. Ads aren't as pricey as they once were. Yep. And you've also seen companies like Coca-Cola drop out of the Super Bowl mainly because they just don't think it's a worthwhile investment.
Well, and I remember there was an article that you actually shared, and it said that considering there's now more exposure to the NFL anyways into NFL broadcasts, then it's, well, let's look at the cost benefit, right? Like, if you're able to, for the same price of a Super Bowl ad, you'll at least be able to get, almost as much exposure on a significantly cheaper scale.
Totally.
Do you need the big one? That's number one. And then number two, okay, so many aspects. Okay, number one, you have the politics about it. Does the company need to make a stand? And also, if the company already has that much awareness, truth be told, how much of a dent is a Super Bowl ad going to make if they're not doing something shocking and memorable for their ads?
You know, I watched my favorite ad that I've seen is probably the PepsiCo one. Have you seen it? With
No, I haven't
Steve
seen it.
Carell, Cardi B,
Okay.
and Lil Jon. That one I thought was very funny. It's funny that Cardi B, again, I think for the second year in a row, will be the talk of the Super Bowl ads because there was that Alexa one last year where she did Alexa's voice. But I actually did a call out on social media today before we recorded, and I wanted to ask, you know, people, some of the followers of both New Theory Radio and myself, the question I asked is, despite the ongoing scrutiny that the NFL faces on a regular basis, so the scrutiny around players kneeling, the scrutiny around the concussions, you know, the fact that some of the NFL owners are racist, do you feel like companies should still invest in commercials during the big game? So surprisingly, as of this recording, I'm seeing a 60-40 split, as in 60% feel yes, they should still invest, 40% say no. For me, it's almost to the point of how woke can a company be when it comes to not wanting to associate their brand to the league.
Yeah.
But then you have issues like, you know, a cannabis company that was trying to get a spot on CBS, and CBS flat out said no, which obviously it's a different climate versus us here in Canada. Considering that this cannabis company, I think, was taking more of an educational route with their ad, similar to what we've seen here in the Canadian market. But what it also shows me is that, number one, out of the sample size that took part in this little survey that I did, I think a lot of them just don't really care about the politics of the game and more so just care about the occasion of the Super Bowl. And from a brand standpoint, you're probably going to be selfish and just say, hey, I want to get my brand in front of the most consumers possible.
I'm half and half on this because on one hand, you're exactly right. I want to get my brand out in front of the most number of consumers. On the other hand, though, there is now an increase of people caring about social responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And if that concerns you, and it is concerning, I mean, we have stats now that shows when it comes to the millennials, when it comes to Gen Z, it's a really, really big thing. It's a huge impact. So in that regards, maybe some of these companies really are making a right decision of stepping out if they actually really do authentically care about not what the NFL is supposed to stand for, but what the changes that have not been made with the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was an article from Ad Age that I sent both of you around how there's going to be more female leads in a lot of advertisements. Devin, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we were.
I feel like Devin wanted to get in there.
Sorry, the NFL is it's a different space for me. I literally just watched the Super Bowl for the halftime show and the ads, right?
But you know what? You're not alone in that. I think a lot of us are like that. I'm not an NFL fan. I became an NFL fan not by choice because of my wife. But I'm like Gen Pop, where, hey, I'll watch one game a year, it's a Super Bowl, and I'll drink and I'll eat because it's a good excuse to do that.
That's exactly it. There's too much stop and go throughout the game.
Yeah, there is. Oh, yeah. It's not as fun as basketball.
Yeah, so a couple
shots fired. A lot of all my football listeners are going to unsubscribe after this.
So going back to the corporate social responsibility, that's an interesting point. I think this could be one of the reasons that we're seeing Chrysler drop out this year.
Yep.
Right? So this is their first time dropping out since 2009 when there was a massive recession. They had a great idea. There was a good reason back then. Now why are they dropping out? I don't know. It could be this corporate social responsibility play. But when it comes to the women in the ads, yes, it should be more balanced. But at the same time, I think there's also a business play here, right? In terms of ROI and how these companies are approaching these ads. If they're dumping $5 million into an ad, they want to make sure they hit their target demographic. And statistically, are more women watching the Super Bowl than men, right? And I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying this is right, but I'm just saying this could be an approach that they're taking, and this could be why they're targeting more men.
Well, you're probably having a situation where you're having a lot of women watching with their significant others.
Yes.
Because we watch the halftime show and the ads.
Are you a big Maroon 5 fan? I feel like you are.
No. I am.
Oh, you are? Devin is?
I love Maroon 5.
This love has taken its
So he's definitely going to watch the halftime show.
Yes.
No, but that's an interesting
crying
point.
during the halftime show. Thank you. Anyways, carry on.
No, but that's an interesting point that you bring up because I think that's probably the strategy. And kudos to brands. Actually, Astawa Alam, who was a guest on last week's episode, sent me a DM, and I'll read it on the air because I thought it was very interesting. He actually brought up a suggestion that, maybe companies should look into almost hijacking the Super Bowl with an intriguing ad. Whether it be through a promoted hashtag or maybe use an ad to promote a certain message, which is what we're probably seeing
almost
from a
like,
CSR standpoint.
Like breaking the internet.
Okay.
Almost like breaking the internet. But mind you, if I'm a CBS or if I'm a network, you're probably going to vet all these ads because you would hate to.
Guys, hold up.
What is it?
Okay, number one, I love Astawa, but remember, Astawa's also really young, so he may not remember this. Oreo hijacked the Super Bowl.
That's always something I always go back to. It's my favorite marketing.
It's the best campaign ever seen.
Remind me what happened with the Oreo.
So, actually, Radha, you want to tell them?
Wasn't the power all went out?
So the power went out back when the Super Bowl took place in New Orleans a few years ago, and Oreo's social media team apparently was working late, working on a Sunday night, and they came up with an idea of saying, no matter what, you can still dunk in the dark. And it was like I remember it was like a dark silhouette image of like an Oreo being dunked into milk, and it was around the whole part. Like it was the first time that we saw reactionary social media posting.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
At that time, that never existed because I remember it was like 2013.
Yeah.
Social media was still very foreign for a lot of brands.
Yep.
Where I remember working internships during my MBA and talking to the social media team, and every post that they would have to post would have to be like approved a couple days beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
This was a scenario where Oreo's like, nope, we're just going to throw it out and beg for forgiveness after, and it broke the internet.
To tell you the truth, when it comes down to ads dealing with the Super Bowl, and I've been watching it for quite a few years because I watched football once.
It's a big pop culture event, right?
It is. No, but I mean, like, also for the fact that because of history with people around me, once in a while I actually do watch football. The only ads I remember is that one.
Yeah.
Volkswagen with the little kid being Darth Vader.
Yeah, that was a cute one.
I think those are the only Super Bowl ads that I actually remember.
It's funny, when I worked at Mars Chocolate, Snickers would always have a memorable ad. And historically, from a lift and adapt standpoint, that Super Bowl ad would be the ad that we would launch in Canada the year later.
Is that the ones where like they either had Betty White or
Betty
someone
White,
else be like...
we had not Mr. Bean. Who do we have? We had one where William Dafoe was dressed up as Marilyn Monroe.
Oh.
We didn't end up running that one because the reviews came back very negative. There was one before. Kenny G for Snickers Bites, where it was a table of individuals sitting around playing poker, and this one guy, like Kenny G, was sitting there playing the sax. And then they gave him Snicker Bites, and he turned back into normal, and he managed to win his poker game. But it was some cool creative ads that we were doing at the time. And I don't think, from what I'm looking up, I don't think Snickers is coming back this year for the Super Bowl. But again, that's for me, especially now that people are consuming the game differently as well. I don't know if I sent you guys this article, but Sports Illustrated surveyed a bunch of sports fans and was asking, hey, how are you going to consume the Super Bowl? A lot more people are streaming it online.
Yeah.
And a lot more people, I don't think Amazon's showing it, but Amazon is showing, a lot of football games, and people are going to be using things like Roku. And there's also, when they were surveying people, there was 11% of them that voted other, which makes you think, okay, well, other probably means pirated means.
Yeah, it's true.
On that pirating topic, it was interesting. We met with a media company yesterday.
Yeah. And
they were saying, so for the people pirating, like, so media companies or bigger companies typically control the internet as well.
Yeah.
So they're timing it now. So for people streaming illegally, They'll wait for like a touchdown point, and then they'll cut it off.
Wow.
They won't.
Yeah.
They won't just cut it off in the beginning and not let you watch. They'll make sure it's frustrating as hell for you.
Yeah. That is crazy. Oh my god.
Genius. I thought it was genius.
Yeah.
You want to know how to get under people's skin? Yeah.
Hey, well, that's definitely a smart way to get them to stop, because eventually they'll just get so frustrated that they're going to have to buy into something, right? But no, I find that interesting.
But I think what it is that's interesting, though, is that when we do actually think back about the Super Bowl ads, people are always saying, oh, yeah, we want to get our names out. We want to get our impact out. And just to think that the only one I could think about in the beginning was just the Oreo.
Which is super simple, was probably the most minimal investment, which was also on their own social channels.
Yeah.
So think about the amount of earned media that they were able to get.
Exactly. And then it really did establish them as a strong brand.
Yeah.
Then it kind of makes you wonder, is everyone doing everything else wrong?
Yeah, because the cost of buying ad space during the Super Bowl is a lot.
Yeah.
And
It was what, 5.3 mil?
Yeah, 5.3 mil. And that doesn't include the cost of producing a memorable spot. So think about PepsiCo using Steve Carell, Lil Jon, and Cardi B, who's the hottest female rapper out in the game right now.
Yep. So what happens to Nicki Minaj? Oh, sorry.
Wow. That's a whole different New Theory radio episode, the theory on Nicki. But yeah, it'll be fascinating to see it. And what I also find interesting is the fact that all these Super Bowl ads are available, days before to build hype. I know of some brands that like to release teasers before, and then they make you watch the Super Bowl to catch the full ad. And usually Monday, Ad Age or Ad Week will do a whole post on it.
The dude that was from Breaking Bad, I don't know his name.
Jesse or Walt?
I don't know.
The old guy, Walt? His name was Walt in the show.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bryan Cranston?
Yeah, Bryan Cranston. I believe he's doing a musical during the
Oh,
Super
is
Bowl.
he? That's probably for Skittles. I think Skittles is doing a musical.
Yeah. Skills is doing a musical, and I had no clue what the relevance of it is. I read about it once on Adweek, and that was the end of that. Like, I have no clue what's up with this.
Well, the last Snickers one I remember was Adam Driver. This was right when Star Wars Episode 7?
Adam Driver
Episode
is
6.
the son of Harrison Ford's character.
Yeah. Oh, wow, you just gave away the plot. that was a big plot in Episode 7. Hopefully, you guys
Okay,
see
that
it.
was like 2 years ago. People can suck it.
You have 2 years to watch it. But they actually did a live Snickers commercial, and they made it seem like the whole premise was that they were shooting it live. It was like at some country western set. Whole premise was Adam Driver shows up, he hits something by accident, the entire set collapses, and then they made it seem like it was a live mishap just to play on the Snickers branding of "You're not you when you're hungry." And then after, Adam Driver did a apology video to build on the hype to extend the brand awareness of that.
Clearly, I remember this.
But to your point, it's now people thinking outside the box to the point. Again, I'm a big WWE fan. I talk about it, and they're bringing back a concept that they did 20 years ago.
Which one?
Which is they're actually putting on a wrestling show during halftime. On their network as well as on their social channels. So something completely different. So people who do not want to support Maroon 5 and other artists that are performing halftime can now have alternate programming via their social devices, which is also fascinating.
That's really smart.
Very smart. Very smart to capitalize on.
I wonder
that.
how many people are actually turning to their phones while the ads are running during the Super
lot.
Bowl.
Ooh, a lot.
Because that's another way to capture some attention, right, from people. Like run it. What?
I'm so proud of him. Our innovation's thinking about marketing. Sorry, okay, carry on.
Hey, next year, ALVi's going to have a 15-second spot during the Super Bowl.
That would be amazing.
Or you can start with the Grey Cup.
You can start educating people on air quality in their home.
Time for our third topic. Our third and our last topic. One thing that we've experienced this week that's been quite horrible is the weather. Even though my jacket is warm, it's the kind of cold that just slaps you in the face. Mm-hmm. But we also got records amount of snow this week. The one thing I kind of want to talk to both of you about is Canada historically is known as being very cold. Mm-hmm. It's people who are not from Canada just assume that we have snow every single day, all day, every day, and that we're used to it.
Yep.
This week made me realize that we do not get snow every day.
Yep.
And then when we do have snow, it's a big state of emergency. So I think we had 30 centimeters this week.
Yep.
Do you feel like as Canadians we could have been better prepared considering, the conditions that we're used to? Or, I've talked to a couple of people about this before. I don't remember us getting this much snow until like maybe I was a kid.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was growing up, we would have snow like this all the time. I feel like this is the first time in a long time that I've actually felt snowed in.
What was the record that was broken again? Was it the most amount of snow that's fallen within a very short amount of time, like 24 hours?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. In the past, like 20 years, 10 years?
I believe
like
so.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up right now.
That's in terms of better prepared, I think generally in Canada, the municipalities are pretty good. In Brampton, I think we have 24 hours to clear the road. Like, it's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Right? Within 24 hours, the roads will be clear. I think. Don't quote me on that. But
hey, man, we're recording.
But generally, it's not. I didn't see anything that was crazy out of the ordinary. It would have been nice to see plows on the road while the snow was happening, but I'm sure there's a strategic reason as to why that's not the case. Right? Or at least I didn't see any plows. I didn't see enough plows on the road.
Yeah, like so I live in Etobicoke, Lakeshore and Park Lawn, and I get a view of Lakeshore from where I live, and for me it was just fascinating to see the amount of cars that were skidding, the amount of cars that just lost control, the amount of cars that just gave up and just stayed parked and waited for a plow to show up. It was bad. And considering a lot of people probably do have winter tires, how people just freak out when there's a little bit.
Because a lot of people think that if you have a winter tire, you're safe driving in the snow.
And you can go at your normal speed.
Yeah, and I was reading an article today about this, that's one of the reasons that police were out in full force, because there's so many accidents, because there's guys and girls literally speeding down the road thinking that, hey, I have a snow tire, and, it's just a little bit of snow, and they start going, and then they start skidding, not realizing that at these temperatures, you're also going to get ice. So you already have the fresh snow that's already difficult to drive through.
Yeah.
Now, if you're waiting a little bit, it's going to get packed down. You're going to turn to the ice. It's not safe. And I don't know. I personally don't think that we have built up enough infrastructure for this, especially for the fact that we should be expecting every year we're going to have a polar vortex or something close to it. And if they haven't been doing that, they should be doing it now.
Yeah. Well, nearly 400 collisions.
Nearly 400
on Toronto
collisions
roads in the span of 24 hours.
The other thing that I found was ridiculous is that there was a lot of this year I found there's a lot more reactionary measures rather than preparation measures.
I agree. I totally agree.
Everyone was in work on the day of the snowstorm, and everyone took the day afterwards off, and it barely snowed.
Yeah.
What good is it going to be if the buses are still running on the day that people are saying it's going to be a very, very dangerous day?
And I was watching CB24 on Sunday.
Yeah.
And the weather people on CB24, kudos to them, were saying tomorrow's going to be bad. Today's a bit of a preview, but just so you know, this is the calm before the storm. Mm-hmm. We're expecting a major snowstorm in the evening. So I was preparing myself where I was like, okay, I normally go to the gym in the evenings. I'll go in the morning. Yeah. Just so happens that my gym classes actually in the evening got canceled. So it was a better decision on my end. But the message was there.
Yeah.
I just felt I'll tell a quick story about my wife. My wife was actually flying out to Vancouver that day. And I kept asking her, hey, is your flight on time? Are you going to reschedule it? Do you want to go Tuesday? Air Canada was specifically saying it was on time. It was good. Maybe because the weather in Vancouver was a lot better. I think when she was that day when we had a lot of snow, Vancouver was 5 degrees and sunny. So it wasn't bad. Yeah, I was quite jealous. She was actually on the tarmac on the flight that hadn't even left yet for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. And she was like, what the hell? This is terrible. Mm-hmm. And again, it just goes to show that, hey, look, we totally get you want to keep it business as usual, but in that scenario, if you have to de-ice the plane, maybe it's smart to maybe play your cards right and take some precaution versus assume, whatever, Vancouver's fine, we'll be okay, just get through this, get through the storm and we'll be on our way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what happened on that day was people were waiting to see how it played out.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
When is it going to... There's the weather people have been wrong so many times.
Except for CP24.
Yeah. But what if the storm came at 5 instead of 3 or 12, right?
That's true.
So everyone took the chance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he thought he was going to be playing dodgeball on the Monday night.
Oh yeah.
I was totally ready to play. I was ready to go alone too.
Yeah, and the entire team's like, "Hey, Devin, you might die."
Devin had his dodgeball outfit on, ready to go.
Trampoline dodgeball.
Oh,
not just regular dodgeball.
That's fun.
I'm so glad it got canceled because something would have happened to you on that road.
No, it would have been fine. But infrastructure-wise, what else would we do? Infrastructure-wise,
I think it's now thinking about precautions, especially when it comes down to our railways. When it comes down to, like, I was stuck on the train today my train was supposed to leave at 6:55. We didn't leave Brampton around 8:05 today.
So was the issue today more so the coldness?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
because
was blistering cold. Yeah.
I mean, it was already delayed with snow before, but then today is the blistering cold.
Yeah.
And that's going to be part of it. It's going to be part of a polar vortex. But that is also infrastructure that is part of our country. It's part of our municipalities, also part of our province. Okay, so that's one. When it comes down to shelters, there should really be an emergency plan that's already pre-planned.
Yeah.
This is going to be a default that happens as soon as we have an indication of a temperature going down.
No, I agree.
It shouldn't be reactionary. We have huge populations that do not have heating. Like, there's just, I don't know, maybe it's just because municipalities are not thinking about contingency plans until they actually have to deal with contingency. And then afterwards, the stories disappear. It's not a priority anymore. People go back to everyday planning because they're hopeful of the nicer weather or the construction or improving lifestyles, whatever, what have you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this comes down to safety. And if you are a municipality and people have chosen to live in that municipality, one thing that they're going to be hoping for is safety. And the other part, especially for the city of Brampton, that they're going to be hoping for is to be able to get to where they need to go, considering we have a big commuter city. Toronto people need to commute. The TDC was just mayhem for days. Absolute days. I don't know how it was in the city of Mississauga, but this is an important part. We should be expecting this. There needs to be more than just reflective and reactionary measures. This needs to be properly planned out and needs to be an expectation that every year something's going to happen. And the question is, what are you going to do about it?
So what you're saying is we should always have the army on standby.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Mel Lassen was interviewed about that.
Man,
and he still stands by that decision.
I love people in uniform. Come on.
That was a really good point about the shelters. I completely agree with that 100%. People should not be in the cold that it is today. People should not be spending the night on the streets.
I can't imagine. I was actually downtown a few days ago, and even like the last couple days, like it's been really cold. Not as cold as today, but still very cold. And when you see people on the street, it's so disheartening because you're like, man, this is not good for them.
Oh, not at all. I mean, that's easily frostbite weather.
Totally.
And if you have whether it's a mental illness or a physical illness, this is just going to propagate everything, right?
No, it definitely does. Well, I think that's a somewhat sad conclusion to this episode.
Let's lighten it up a little.
Yeah, it's end on a happy note. Devin, let's talk about ALVi.
Oh,
this is your opportunity, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Pitch it.
So, feel free to tell the listeners about what ALVi is all about, how they can contribute. This is a fantastic campaign that you currently have on Indiegogo. I believe you're over 80% of your goal that's been hit.
Yeah. So the campaign's going generally well. ALVi is a smart furnace filter for your home. So right now, a lot of people have furnaces in their basements, and they don't know when to change their filter. There's no way to tell. Even if you want to look at it, you see a little bit of dirt, but you don't know whether it's actually dirty. So people end up throwing their furnace filter out early or late. Now, if you keep your filter clogged, not intentionally, of course, but if you forget, that's actually costing you about $15 a month.
Oh, crazy!
Right, on your energy bills.
Yes,
right, because your furnace fan, is trying to force the air throughout your home, but there's this massive restriction in there. So that's what's different about ALVi is that it monitors your filter and it'll tell you when to change it. It delivers better air quality, so HEPA-Class air quality, and it saves energy on your energy bills, right? So you save up to $200 a year because we use a low-density media that improves the circulation throughout your home. So it kind of goes back to the original conversation around data, right? And what we were trying to do with our sensors is figure out what's in your air, right? What could be harming you in your air? Is it cat dander? Is it pollen? Is it dust mites? What is it? And then be able to draw relevant conclusions and actionable insights from that data. And that's really where we're going in the long term. In the short term, ALVi is a smart furnace filter that's able to predict your air quality, tell you when to change it, give you better air quality, and save you energy.
That's sweet. And then if people want to contribute and give you not only contributions but their data,
so we are.
How can they reach out to you?
The campaign is live for about another 15 days.
Oh, sweet.
We're on indiegogo.com. But you can find that link through our website at www.CleanAir.ai.
Are you on Indiegogo's front page now?
We were,
okay.
And so hundreds of campaigns are released every day. Right?
Yeah,
so
totally,
we're up and we're down. But yeah, so
amazing, man. Well, congrats on this. I think it's a fantastic product. Like I said, I'm not really scared about my data being out there, especially from a convenience when it involves air filtering, because I think that's very important, especially someone like me who deals with allergies quite a bit. So kudos to you, and definitely go support Devin and his wonderful product and the team at ALVi. And we'll definitely put up the information on the Indiegogo in the podcast description. So congrats to you on that. And hopefully I'll get a free air filter out of this. Radha Tailor, how can they connect with you? And I just realized you're wearing a Disney-wear sweater. That's hilarious. Is that a Queen's University Spirit Squad sweater?
No, this is, it's definitely not a Spirit Squad. I think I got this when I was 20 years old. I've had this for, I think I've had this for around 11 years.
I think Disney-wear just relaunched.
Did they?
I think so. I think I saw a post. I've actually, shouts to Manny at Disney-wear. He probably doesn't listen to this, but I think I saw him post on Facebook that he was relaunching it.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
I haven't been paying attention to Disney-wear for like the last couple of years.
Hey, she's still wearing it.
Yo, you know what? This line's legit. But here's the problem. I don't know if you can see this. I have like little holes in here.
Oh, jeez. We'll have to take a photo of that for the gram.
Well, I refused to give it up. What happened was when my dog was a puppy, he kept on chewing all my clothes. The only one, and it's going to sound pompous and arrogant, the only sweatshirt he couldn't chew through was my Harvard sweatshirt.
Oh,
so everything
gotcha.
I had from Queens, my Disney-wear sweatshirt, like literally every other hoodie I have, my dogs chewed through it. But I still wear it with so much pride. I'm like, I feel like a lion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Hear me roar. Roar.
Okay. All right. Well, if the listeners want to hear you roar,
oh my God,
how can they connect with you?
Oh my God. So totally abuse the data and find me on Facebook.
Abuse the data. Oh my God.
Okay, no, it was legit. I am on Facebook. It's Radha Tailor. I am on Twitter, but it's more inactive because I keep on forgetting that Twitter exists at Radha Tailor. And Instagram, totally find me on Instagram, but I have to admit, I think my stories are a bit more entertaining than my feed. I like to be as candid as possible.
But you have 2 accounts, no?
Yeah, but the Radha Eats one is more dedicated towards food.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm going to be having a pickup with that this year anyways again.
Yeah.
If you want to know where to eat in Brampton, that's when you holler at me. I can totally help you out with that. But yeah, Radha Tailor, Radha, Radha Kesni Jale, Tailor, because it's a needle pulling thread. It's legit. Like, we know how to sew. So that's where you find me.
Amazing. And then are you still contributing to the Bramptonist?
Yeah.
So check out some of the work. It sounds like you'll be working on some more food stuff this year, which is exciting.
Working on some food stuff, working on some, I guess, more of the business and tech side of stuff, a little bit municipal. Also at the Rose, you know what, shout out to the Rose. They are having the Talkback Studios for some of their smaller plays as well.
Excellent.
So very, very excited because
you've done a few of those.
Yeah, I get to have a part of that too. So I get to talk to the actors and really get to dive into some really interesting stories.
Yeah, actually, the Rose programming this year looks pretty
yeah,
nice.
They've done a great job.
They're also dipping into tech a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
So...
whoa, a little exclusive right here, courtesy of Mr. Innovation. I wonder how he knows this.
The ITAC Smart Cities event is happening at the Rose Theater on February 26th.
Excellent.
Right, so we'll be drawing CIOs, so Chief Information Officers from cities all across Canada.
Wow.
There'll be major corporates there as well. Lots of tech companies, and this is big for Brampton because it's Brampton's first Smart Cities Tech Summit.
Totally. And I think kudos to you, Devin, for all the work that you do for the city of Brampton, and good luck on ALVi, and Radha, just best of luck on eating more food this year, because I'm sure we'll see it. And if you want to,
I'll bring you around with me.
Yeah,
so.
please.
Okay.
I would. There are times when I was on your Radha Eats account that some of the food that you ate did look pretty good. Some of it did look kind of suspect, but
the suspect stuff doesn't go online.
It doesn't.
No.
Okay. So maybe it was just me. But anyways, if you want to connect with New Theory Radio, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at New Theory Radio, especially Twitter. We don't have too many followers on Twitter as much as I would like. But Instagram and Facebook are going pretty well, so please hit us up if you like what you hear. As well as leave a review on iTunes. We'll love to see some reviews and some subscriptions. So I'm going to be releasing a tutorial soon on how to subscribe to us on iTunes, because I think a lot of people probably don't know. And you can hit me up on social media, because, again, my data is out there, and I'm happy about it. It's at @Nanwa on Twitter, at Nav Nanwa on Instagram, and for Facebook, just hit up at New Theory Radio. Thank you so much. This is this week's episode. Big shouts to Devin and Radha for joining me, and we will see, or you will hear all of us next time. Peace.
At American University, we don't just hope for change, we create it. We don't just dream of a better world, we make it a reality. With a graduate degree from AU, you'll access expert faculty and connections throughout DC to develop skills and experience to turn your passion into purpose. And that purpose can make all the difference in your career. Discover the difference a degree makes at american.edu/grad school.